Whatever you think of Blizzard, this is the only company that takes translation of their games seriously. I know that because I'm a professional interpreter myself. To this day, one of the best translations of games in my head are Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. Blizzard, unlike many other companies, takes it upon itself to translate absolutely everything, hiring good translators and good voice actors. Games like Warcraft, for example, are not easy to translate because of the sheer amount of lore and speaking names and such, and the weapons and the made-up names and monsters and so on and so forth. But they do an absolutely amazing job at translating all that, something you can really appreciate only if you did similar things yourself. It's a job where if you do everything right, no one will know about you, but if you do everything wrong, then you'll be crucified. If nothing else, I will always praise Blizzard for their amazing attention to the translation of their games. Unfortunately, the Overwatch translation is fucking garbage. Overwatch Russian translation is simply one of the worst translations I've heard from Blizzard, or maybe even in general. Not one thing is done right. They fucked it up in every way it was possible to fuck up a translation. Hello everybody, my name is Andrei, and let me tell you the list of reasons why Overwatch translation is a fucking pile of shit. Number 1. Translation itself is garbage. The first point is the most obvious one. The translation of many phrases is either wrong or lost their original meaning or intention. Now, I do understand that it is a fictional work of art and some freedom can be had with the translation to save the meaning, and in some cases they do alright, but most of the time they demonstrate complete ineptitude when it comes to understanding the phrase. For example,
Justice reigns from above.
said by far is translated as
Ливень возмездия.
if translated back, it says downpour of justice, downpour as in actual rain. And in English, rains from above doesn't actually mean, the rain itself, although the connection is made, but it just means that something falls from the sky. In Russian, this meaning is lost. So what they should have said is возмездие с небес, retribution from the clouds, or vengeance from the clouds. I think it has much more impact. I think it's a little bit more spicy, it's a little bit better. It suits the character of Farah a bit more than Living Pravosudya. Outside of blatantly wrong translation of some phrases, they also fail to translate some of the names. Can you guess what Mercy's name is in Russian? It blows my fucking mind every time I see it. She is called Angel, which translates to fucking angel. But what the shit? Mercy's real name is Angela, okay, but she's not fucking Angel. Her name is Angela, or Angela, Ziegler, whatever the fuck you pronounce that name as. But in Russian, they just looked at the Wikipedia and were like, yeah, okay, you see Angel, yeah, just name her Angel. What the fucking sense does that make? You fucking called Symmetra in Russian as Symmetra. Why can't you call the same with Mercy? Why do you have to be so inconsistent with your work? Don't even get me started on the translation of Junkrat and Roadhog, just trust me, it's awful. You can look it up yourself, it's nonsensical. Number 2, voice actors are awful. There are like 3 heroes where Russian voice matches the English one and the personality of the hero in general. Everyone else sounds like they are either trying too hard or not trying hard at all. The worst offenders are Junkrat,
С днем рождения! Кому шашлычков? Да пустяки, вы чего?
Reinhardt,
Мясо ist fantastisch. Люблю крушить тыквы. Эпическая фраза. Сделано в Германии.
Diva,
ГГ! Я играю ради победы. Я лучшая. Улыбнись. АФК. Я играю. Лол.
Mei,
Надеюсь, урок усвоен. Простите, извините меня, простите.
Genji,
Нападайте! Легко. Да. Верный клинок успокоит мятежную душу. Ксо.
and Reaper.
Слишком просто. Люблю гробовую тишину.
The cringe of the voice actor in the booth is almost palpable. I can almost feel it in the air. He tries to sound like a game character without knowing anything about games, and that's what it feels like. A bunch of Russian fucking suits who know nothing about games and trying to translate this work. It's impossible. It's fucking awful.
Дети, не балуйте. Все когда-нибудь умрем.
Правосудие свершилось.
Was it too much to ask to actually hire a mature woman to do a voice for Anna, instead of the young woman trying to sound old? I mean, seriously, she sounds fucking awful. Number 3, lack of direction. Now, I can't blame only the voice actor, since half the blame is always on the person trying to direct him. It seems either that person just outright didn't exist, or didn't give much shit. The best example is Genji and Junkrat. Genji Japanese is god-awful, which is fucking retarded because he's from Japan. Like, could you not guys sit additional, 10 minutes and try to get the Japanese phrases right? Because they sound completely awful. You have to try really hard to be this bad. Was it like their first take and they just said, fuck it, just leave it in? Could you not do it once again? Maybe, listen to it in fucking Japanese, how he says it in the game in English, and then try to replicate it? It seems to me they didn't even hear the English version. They just looked at the script and just read it from it, and they didn't give much shit about it. Junkrat just sounds fucking awful. Once again, it feels like they just going from directions Blizzard gave him. They said, Junkrat is a crazy character, so do a crazy voice. So they didn't listen to the original Junkrat voice, and they gave it him this awful fucking youngish, brutal voice. It's fucking awful. Outside of that, Roadhog, for example, is too fucking quiet. I can barely hear him whizzing and doing other sounds. I mean, is it not important to fucking hear Roadhog whizzing around and trying to hook you from behind? Is it not at all important? Was it so much to ask for fucking to sit in the booth for another 30 minutes and try to get the lines right? Or fucking listen to English version at least? Number 4, sound design is ruined. Whether you like Overwatch or not, you have to admit that one of the biggest achievements of the game is absolutely amazing sound design. In game, you can hear all the information that you need: footsteps, reload sounds, healing sounds, ultimate callouts, and so on. And the game decides which information is most important to hear, which is a fresh and exciting concept. Too bad Russian translation completely ruins it. First of all, heroes don't speak in their native tongues when using the ultimates on the other team. So Mate, for example, doesn't speak Chinese, and Mercy doesn't speak German, and so on. This is actually more confusing than it sounds. Secondly, the translation of the ultimate on both teams sounds so similar I had no idea who used an ultimate on which team. Now here are a few most confusing examples.
Огонь по готовности! Вперед! Огонь по готовности!
What did you say? What the fuck? How am I supposed to know which Zarya used an ultimate without looking? Sure, let's fuck up the most impactful ultimate in the game, no problem.
Застыньте! Не шевелитесь! Замрите! Не двигаться!
This is bullshit as well. Did Blizzard not tell them that this is the most important aspect of the ultimate callouts? If the ultimate is in foreign language, it's probably on the other team, and if it's in your language, it's probably on your team. Because Zarya sounds completely the same, Mei sounds completely the same, and thirdly, ultimate sounds just like the impact of the original.
Пошел в зал!
What? Can you come again, please?
Тактический визор активирован.
What? Can you speak up a bit? Half the time I didn't even know the ultimate was used, because A, no sound was made, or B, it was so quiet without any impact to it, I thought it's just a phrase they did, a taunt, Did Blizzard not check this fucking disaster? Number 5, inconsistency. Consistency of the translation is one of the most important things to consider. A good translation will always be consistent in its tone, vocabulary, and most importantly, the quality. I'm not joking when I say that I'd rather have a bad translation which is consistently bad instead of translation which can't make its fucking mind. There's so many inconsistencies in the Overwatch translation, it actually blows my mind. Some heroes speak their native tongue, some don't.
À la vie, à la mort. Oh là là, так и должно быть.
Some names are translated literally, some are not. For example, Junkrat is translated fucking Krasavchik, and Symmetra is translated as Symmetra instead of the equivalent of the symmetry in Russian. Some heroes have the original grunts, recorded for Russian audience, and some don't. For example, Mercy still have English sounding grunts, which just sounds nothing like their Russian fucking voice actor.
Здравствуйте. О, привет.
What, did the actor just fucking refuse to grunt in the recording booth? You pay the fuckers to do it, just fucking do it! Why do you fake an accent on Hanzo and Genji, but not on Mei and Junkrat? Why are some phrases translated decently and others fucked? I swear to Christ, if it was all bad, then I'd have a laugh. That's a good translation, lads. Ooh, really had me going there, sukas. But no, some parts of it are good and some are fucking bad or show the lack of interest. You can't do that. Well, anyway, all these flaws in my opinion combine into the last problem. Number 6. Lack of quality control. Whoever was overseeing the translation did not do good enough job. All he had to say, that sounds like shit, do it over. After the garbage was made, it seems like Blizzard didn't even look at it themselves and just released it as is. Among all the great translations Blizzard has, this one stands out like a sore dick. It is the first fucking IP they have in 12 years and they treat it to such awful translation? Well, I have a few theories why it is so. Number 1. Blizzard's stuff changed and they don't care as much about translation as the previous stuff did. Number 2. Blizzard were not using their own staff of translators but instead hired a Russian company who had no idea what the fuck they were doing. I think it's the most likely case because Russian companies, especially translation companies, are garbage. They're not very good, and I doubt they even played the game in their life. So Blizzard paid them a lot of money, they took the project, and they shit it out. Number 3. Blizzard's own department cooperated with someone else. Considering how inconsistent the translation is, I highly suspect there were 2 companies or 2 translation departments working on it. And number 4, Blizzard just doesn't give a shit about Russian translation. Yeah, it could always be just that. Fuck Russia and fuck its translation and fuck Russian people. In all honesty, I want to cut them some slack. Overwatch is not an easy game to translate. But would they at least try? At least have some passion, an ounce of passion for the game to grant it a decent enough translation. I'm not asking for perfection, but just put a little bit of effort into it, just a little bit. Just don't chill it out. Just sit maybe one night over and thinking of better variant. I think this game deserves a better translation in Russian. I think it should be redone completely. Right now, for example, I cannot recommend Overwatch to my Russian friend who doesn't know English because I'm embarrassed. Because the Russian translation is so garbage, I cannot say, yeah, check this out, it's a decent game. And as soon as he hears fucking "Привет, друзья, я пришла," he's gonna say no, I'm not playing the cringe fast. So thank you guys for watching. Please check my Patreon.